So I'm really excited to be here with you, Peggy, because I have heard about CEX and have wanted to visit. This year I get to visit, and we're talking about CRPs, CR Party,
Yes.
Component Relations
Yes.
Professionals. And you are the queen of CRP. You are the queen of CRP. So I want to ask you all kinds of questions, but let's start out talking about this event.
Yes.
Okay, so CEX. Tell me about where this idea came from, how it's developed, where we are today.
So and this story is true.
Okay.
I had got this weird call from this Kyle person, and he said he was with something called Bill Highway, and I'm like, yeah, right. I get calls all the time from vendors, and he said, no, seriously, I'm going to be in town. Can I take you out to dinner? I said, I guess so. So Peter and I and he and one of his colleagues went to dinner, and in the middle of the conversation, he says to me, Peggy, if money wasn't an object, what would you do? And I said, if money wasn't an object, I would put on a one-day event just for components people to talk about chapters, all things chapters in a safe zone. And he says, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, that probably blew him away, right?
Right.
I'm never going to hear from him again. Not quite a month later, a voicemail. Okay, Peggy, we're in. When do we set the date?
Wow.
I said, what?
Wow.
And that's when I realized that if you find a person, a group that has the passion for you, an idea can actually germinate. And that's exactly what happened. So and he tells the story about we had just ordered some whiskey. It truly wasn't whiskey. He had whiskey, I had wine. But yeah, it just came out of that. And the first year was total, we weren't sure. We budgeted 75 people. Went well beyond that. Then last year we sold out 30 days before the event, so we came here to make it a little bit bigger. We don't want to get too much bigger than KiKi, and I'll tell you why, because this is really about the relationships, the people. So it's a cool event, and our goal now is to take this event from being a day, but to really baking it throughout the year, to really making it a community.
And I have to say, I know Peggy well enough about what you've done in your history that when you come to, first of all, when you come to Peggy with an idea and you say, like, let's get creative, I mean, danger zone, watch out, because ideas forever. But this focus on making sure that you have community, this focus on, because you're not saying, okay, let's turn this bigger. You're keeping your eye on what's truly important for the people who have to do this for their people too. Right. And so some of the things I've heard from people are like, I can't believe this is just for us. They really can't believe that this is an event that is just for them. And so have you looked at expanding it? Were there ever discussions about growing it? What does that look like when you have something that's so successful that everyone wants it to get bigger, and yet you have to ensure that sense of community remains?
So, and isn't this sort of what we do in associations, where we have something successful and then we think that the answer is for it to get bigger?
Right.
And we're going to be really careful about that here, because it's not, we don't want to get, this is big right now.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get bigger because I don't want to lose the community. Not only that, but if we put all of our time and attention into one event, we miss the other 364 days of the year. There are people who couldn't make it here. So how are we allowing them to experience the community? So our efforts will not be on making this bigger. Our efforts will be on how do we find those moments of community. So the first thing we did today was we put them in groups of 8.
Yeah.
They're hiking buddies, they're learning partners. And he did that because this is a big event. I need you to know 8 people that have your back. And so we're going to continue to look at how do we keep it big enough to pay the bills, because that's what we all have to do, right? Mm-hmm. But not so big that we lose that community. And
right.
It's going to be a little bit of a struggle. But if we think about our own, back to your CRP days, your event was, for the most part, your event was going to be somewhat limited, and I want people to take away stuff from this particular event and go home and say, I can try that. So. Karen from CAI was one of the last speakers. She stole the barista for her chapter leaders from us. So what can we do?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I want to ask you a couple more questions about this event and then go into talking about component relations as a
Okay.
whole. But so how are you adapting each year? What are some of the changes that you've made from year to year? You've got the camping theme, you're going on different trails. Are there ideas percolating for the next one?
Oh, 2020 is a special year, you know.
I know.
What can I say?
I know.
You might see some Jeopardy. Who knows? I, one of the things that we love to do is, and that's one reason why I wanted people to see what Karen had done with CAI, is to really rethink some of the organizational stuff. We're still in rounds.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think if we're going to be true to helping people develop the community of their chapter leaders, we have to get out of rounds of 6 and 7. So I think that's what you're going to see. Every year we've tried something different. We have a different theme. The first year was about baristas and personalization and find your coffee, and we also had a graphic artist who called all the notes for us, right? And so every year we've done something a little bit different, and we haven't repeated any of those things, largely because we want them to see variety. And
we need that. We need that because CRPs, oftentimes you're having to come up with your own training, your own ways to bring people together, your own leadership and leadership events. And so I think it's so important to show those examples.
I think so too.
But then the pressure's on you.
Yes, every year.
To provide the great creative examples.
I do have a brain trust here, and all I have to do is lurk and listen, and I come up with ideas.
True. That is true. So you've always excelled at collaboration. That's why you're doing this. That's why you do what you do. When you think about component relations professionals, okay, and I know that this is near and dear to our hearts.
Yes.
When you think about component relations professionals, what do you think is still one of the biggest challenges for them?
So, can I say 2 biggest challenges?
I'll allow.
Okay, great, excellent.
Yes.
One is they're still siloed. The whole reason why I had Rick Grimm, CEO of NIGP, do the conversation he did was to say, and he said it cannot be siloed. And Karen said the same thing. Like, I had to have staff to meet it. When we try to shoulder the whole thing, we have such a meager budget, most of us, in terms of the context of the operating budget of the organization. And sometimes, like Wes, he's a department of 1.5. We have to stop thinking that we can do it. We have to spend as much time building the partnerships within the staff as we do with our own leaders. And I know that takes an incredible amount of time, but I think that it's that in learning how to, what does the CEO want? What does the CFO want? What does the learning manager want? In Wes's case, what does the learning manager want? The learning manager wants to be able to put more money in learning management systems, and she can only do that if people buy products. So if he puts a free product there and brings all these chapter leaders in, so I'm saying, so it's learning that kind of conversation, but right with it is this sense of, as a CRP, that I'm only allowed to talk about the chapters. I'm not supposed to think bigger or think bolder, and I don't find my voice with that. And so one of the messages that I was really excited about Rick giving was when he asked him, are you at the table about this conversational workforce development and leadership within your members' agencies? And people, did you see it? I mean, most people in the room said no. And I'm like, no, you need to be at the table. Get your voice. So those are the 2 biggest challenges, is find your voice to be in all the conversations and become the collaborator.
It's always been such a challenge because, there's no one like a component relations professional who is acting as diplomat, who is acting as, they bring the stories back to, and hopefully are helping to share what the real challenges are at a grassroots level, but also communicate on behalf of national or headquarters or whatever it is, back to each of these different groups. And it's so much relationship development, and some of those things that make a component relations professional successful, which is being inclusive and bringing people to the table and bringing people together, probably prevents them from, thinking in their own self-interest about how to raise themselves up, because they're so focused on bringing others in that it's not about elevating themselves up.
And I'll
so,
tell you why. I mean, one reason I bring that is on our campfires today,
Yeah.
one of the topics is that. It's about how do
Yeah.
I do my own professional development.
it's so important. So my question to you is, now there's the component exchange. Now you have the association component exchange. It is very sexy.
Yes.
And it's growing, and people are becoming more aware of it. What's the future for the component relations professional? I mean, they've definitely elevated, partially in thanks to the work that you've done. But what's the future for the component relations professional?
So what's really interesting is we're seeing more and more titles popping up around engagement, stakeholder engagement. So over at Rouse, it's the Director of Stakeholder Engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're smart, the CRPs, that's the role we're going to own, because we're going to own the fact that people want to get together in smaller communities, smaller peer-to-peers. How do we facilitate that, and how do we enable the organization to facilitate? So I kind of feel like, our new title is going to be stakeholder engagement or something like that, which I think is pretty exciting.
It is exciting. It sounds like it should come with a bigger paycheck for most people.
It should. And you know what? If you look around this room, there are some people that have bigger paychecks now.
Yeah. That is true. I mean,
but you gotta have your voice.
You have to have your voice, and I think it is positioning.
Yeah.
It's helping people to understand that the value you hopefully are. Most component relations professionals, most of us are sitting at those tables where the movers and shakers are sharing what's coming down around the corner, and they're sharing the real issues that they're facing, and there's so much value in that, and in putting the right people at the table together, and no one like a CRP can do that.
No, that's my opinion. I'm sticking by it.
So if you had to tell the world one thing about CRPs. And one thing, I could give the entire world's attention to you for this next answer. What would you tell them?
So what a CRP is and does that makes them completely unique and incredibly special is this complete understanding of what it means to engage people in scenarios that are unique to them and meet their needs. It's that finding the pockets of members, finding the pockets that people can collect in larger associations. It's taking a large association and it's making it small and personal. Yeah. That's what a CRP can do, most of the time does, and really should be tapped to do.
I love it.
Awesome.
Okay. Is there
oh my God, I love it.
Is there anything else? Anything else?
No. Except I will tell you that it's called Association CEX, and that's only because we loved Association Chat, so we went Association CEX. I love it. Fabulous. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you.